Hey Tubes, got something kind of interesting for you here today. If you haven't seen this already over on 805 Road King's channel, I think he just put a video up of us all working on stuff in his garage. I was working on this combustion chamber here. But if you haven't seen that, you might be looking at it and thinking about that flange on the end there and looking at this turbocharger, and you might have guessed it, I'm building a jet engine. So if you're not familiar with the function of a turbocharger, I guess I'll explain it real fast and tell you how this works. But anyway, so what a turbocharger does is on a regular naturally aspirated engine, you can only take in so much air on the intake stroke. Theoretically, you can only take in however much air there is at normal atmospheric pressure. Now, if you're at sea level, that's pretty good. But if you're up at 15,000 feet in a propeller airplane, if you happen to decide to go that high, you might find that you have some trouble maintaining manifold pressure. The reason being is there's not as much air up there. So that's where a turbocharger comes in. Now that's not the only application, but I'll get to that. So the way a turbocharger works is this right here bolts onto your exhaust manifold. So your exhaust goes through here, and then I only got one hand here, but it goes through here and it spins the turbine, and then it comes out through the bottom there. In turn, that turbine is connected through the shaft going through that hydrodynamic bearing, and it comes up here and spins this compressor wheel. What the compressor wheel does is it draws in a whole lot of air, compresses it, depending on the size of your turbo, 8, 10, even up to 20, 25 psi, it all depends. And then all that air comes out of here and goes into your intake. So what that does is it increases the volumetric efficiency of the engine. And basically, if you think about it, when you compress the air, it has more oxygen in it, and more oxygen means you can burn more efficiently, you can burn hotter, and all kinds of stuff to get you more power. So that's the way a turbocharger works in its intended application. Now what's going to happen here is the turbocharger is going to bolt on to the end of this combustion chamber. Now this version 1.0 is going to burn propane, just a 30-pound propane cylinder I'll be hooking that up to. And so what will happen is you'll have, and I don't have everything set up for my test yet, but you'll see in a little while, you have a plate on here with all your injectors and stuff, so your fuel gets shot in here, and I got a spark plug and all that to ignite it, and then you got a flame coming up through here, and that spools up the turbo. Now you have to use a leaf blower or a vacuum to get the turbo spinning, but once you got the turbo spinning a little bit, you turn on your fuel, and then the flame's driving the turbo. Then the air from the turbocharger, from the cold air outlet, goes into here, goes in there, compresses, and it burns. And as I said before, when you're under pressure, you burn more efficiently. So the whole idea is that this thing will self-sustain itself, and then whatever thrust is left over that wasn't used to drive the compressor wheel will then be coming out the back as thrust. So we don't know how much thrust it's going to make. I'm not sure about this combustion chamber. There's a whole bunch of dimensions that go into it, which I'll go into more detail if you guys want me to. But basically, you take your diameter of your compressor wheel, or rather your inducer, and then you figure out 6 times or 2 times how wide it's supposed to be, how long it's supposed to be. Now I actually changed the dimensions a little bit because I could only find a certain diameter pipe at the scrapyard, and it happened to be a little bit smaller, so I corrected for that by increasing the length of the combustor. I'm not sure if that was the correct thing to do. You know, it just increased it so that it has the same volume inside. However, it seems to work all right. And then one other thing before we test it out, if you take a look inside here, I'll turn my lights on, you got a series of holes in there. So the ones up close here, they're pretty small, and there's I forget how many, I think there's 19 of them. And then in the middle, you can see they're a little bit larger. If I remember correctly, there's 5 of them. And then at the end, or closest to the end anyway, you got the biggest holes right in there. Now the idea with that is you've got 3 zones of air coming in, because remember, actually I didn't even mention this, so you might not remember, but there's 2 pipes here. There's this outer pipe, and then there's this inner pipe here. And so there's an air gap in between. So the whole idea is that these primary holes right here are what hits the flame first in the process of combustion. Then you got those holes down there that complete the process, And then if everything's working the way it's supposed to be, these final holes in the back here, they're just supposed to add air to actually cool down the flame before it hits the turbine, because otherwise you have turbo failure, and that's not good. But either way, that's the basic idea of what's going on here. That's how it works, or how it's supposed to work, and how our design is set up. Now, like I said, I'm not certain that this design is going to give us a maximum amount of thrust, but either way, it should work. And one other thing, if you stuck with me this far, I just wanted to give a shout out to small engine mechanic Mike. He gave me this turbo. I think he got it off a generator. So shout out to him. Make sure you check out his channel, and definitely appreciate that. But anyhow, yeah, that's the basic idea. So we're going to go ahead and set you up on the tripod here, and we'll do a test run and make some fire. Alright, stand by.